So welcome to the supplemental materials for the Frighteners. This gives you a very detailed account on the making of the movie. During the production of the Frighteners, I wanted to capture as much behind-the-scenes material as I could, and we had a video crew videotaping behind-the-scenes material, even though back in the days that it was made, 10 years ago, there wasn't really much of a market, because it was actually the days before DVDs. This is making me feel really old now that DVDs weren't invented, but there was Laserdiscs. And for somebody like me, I was a huge Laserdisc fan, and I wanted to, create a very detailed, comprehensive making of behind-the-scenes package for a special Laserdisc edition. And the supplemental materials that are available on this DVD set are actually the original materials that we produced ourselves. They weren't made by another company or a publicity department at the studio. It was actually a case where the filmmakers produced their own behind-the-scenes material. I remember once the movie was finished and delivered, spending days and days and days in the edit room going through the behind-the-scenes tapes and logging it all and cutting it together. And, I was experimenting with different concepts, the way that we presented storyboards. And I also wanted to have a chapter that was much more of a fly-on-the-wall approach to what it was like being on a film set, and have no voiceover and no narration, and there's a chapter which is just pure raw footage of us working on the set making the movie. Because I was very much aware that people that bought these special editions were interested in as truthful account as possible. So it was interesting that 9 years ago we were experimenting with different ways to present behind-the-scenes material. In a way, even today, we're still experimenting with ways in which you can make the behind-the-scenes a bit more entertaining. And this is the first time that any of this material has actually been made available on DVD, so I'm really thrilled that you're able to sit down and enjoy a glimpse at the making of the Frighteners.
One of the wonderful things that movies can do is bring you to places that obviously you can't see anywhere else in the world or reality, and one of those areas is tales that come from the other side, and that's always been a mainstay in our sort of movie diet. And so my interest has always been in a lot of that dark stuff and a lot of that otherworldly stuff, like in Tales from the Crypt. And the Frighteners is one step beyond all of that.
When my daughter Haley was 18 months old, we were in our basement of our building in New York, and we were doing laundry, and in laundry machines. We weren't like beating it against like rocks or anything. And so we're down there, and she sort of toddled off into this disused room, and there was nothing in this room. I mean, it was literally just cinder block walls and a light bulb in the ceiling, and she just sort of pointed at this wall and said, "Baby, baby." And I said, There's no baby there, sweetheart. That's just a wall. And she looked at me like, baby. And my hairs on the back of my neck went boing. And so I said, let's go get mommy. So we ran upstairs and got my wife, who jumped about 18 inches into the air, and said, let's go back down. So we ran back downstairs, and we put Haley in the room, and Haley said, or Leslie said, Haley, show mommy the baby. And Haley went over and was pointing at this thing, and she's sort of tracking it with her finger. And then Leslie said, Haley, can you go kiss the baby? And Haley went over to it and sort of kissed this spot on the wall, and then tracked it with her eyes a little bit more, and then she just kind of stood back and came over like, what next?
I believe that there must be something else other than this reality. We must go somewhere when we die, and I don't know where, but I definitely believe, and I would love to see a ghost, but I've never seen one. I know Peter's seen one.
It was about 6:30 in the morning. It was an old apartment block that we used to be in, and it was like a 100-year-old building. And I was lying in bed. Fran had just gotten up to go and make a cup of coffee, and I was awake. I was certainly wide awake. I wasn't sleeping. And the door of the bedroom was open, and I was lying there, and suddenly a woman comes into the bedroom, in through the door. And my first thought was that, not that it's a ghost, my first thought was she was real. And that was actually really terrifying, because I thought, what's she doing here? There was only Fran and I in the building. And she was also very, very creepy looking, because she had a face that was locked into a scream, like a frozen scream, sort of like, like quite a terrifying look. And so within a second or two, I'm taking this in. I'm thinking it's a real person. She's got a scream on her face, making no sound, silent. And my heart starts thumping. And then after like 2 or 3 seconds, because all this happens very quickly, after 2 or 3 seconds I realise that she's a ghost, that she's not real. She's gliding across the floor. She's not actually walking. And also I guess there was she was like transparent. There was a sort of it didn't feel solid. So I realised I'm looking at a ghost, and that's almost a relief. I mean, it's actually, it's almost a relief that it's not a real person, because they're more dangerous, I'm sure, than ghosts. And so I'm watching her, and she goes across the floor, and she slowly rises in the air, and my eyes are totally locked onto this figure, and then she disappears out of the wall on the other side of the bedroom, and the whole thing took maybe 6 or 7 seconds from the doorway across. And I mean, I was like trembling. It was like I felt exactly the same as you do if you just have a near miss in your car or something, and you just feel kind of weak and your heart's pounding. And I called out to Fran, and she came running in. And now Fran had lived in this apartment for like 5 years, prior to this. And I said to Fran, I think I've seen a ghost. And the first thing that she said to me, and this is true, the first thing she said to me was it a woman with a screaming face? And I said, yeah, she had a screaming face. And Fran said that about 3 years earlier, she'd woken up in the middle of the night. She was by herself and opened her eyes, and at the foot of the bed was a woman with a screaming face who was standing at the foot of the bed staring at her. And this was the same room. And so, that's the sort of thing that you can't make up. I mean, Fran had never told me about that experience that she'd had. And then I saw the same ghost, 3 years later. So I don't know. I mean, I've always believed in that type of thing, I guess, because I just generally believe in most things. I think that ghosts do exist. It's not the reason why we made the Frighteners, however, and certainly, the Frighteners is supposed to be a lot more entertaining and funny than what that particular ghost was.
I mean, there's got to be some kind of rational explanation for all this.
No, you're next, pal. No, dog.
That's actually a qualified shot, though.
And crack!
During 1992, Fran Walsh and I were working on the script of Heavenly Creatures. Braindead was in distribution around the world, and we started working on our next project. During the course of writing Heavenly Creatures, we used to take breaks and go for walks just to kind of clear our head. And I remember one Sunday afternoon we were taking a walk along the Seatoon seafront to the local shops to buy some milk, and we were talking about some ideas for films. And I think because Heavenly Creatures was so factual based, it was a true story, our minds were sort of going into more imaginative areas, making things up. And we talked about ghost story ideas, and we came up with the seed of the Frighteners during that walk to the shops, which was basically the idea about the psychic con man who runs the scam, has the ghosts scaring people and earning money for them. So that was the seed of the idea. We came back and had to carry on working on Heavenly Creatures, but we managed to write a 2-page story outline that was the basis of our idea at that time. It doesn't actually bear a huge resemblance to the finished movie when you look at it today. It has all sorts of things like the local sheriff was the big villain, and the mayor of the town was embezzling somebody, and there's a whole lot of stuff in here that never made it into the movie. So having committed it all to paper, we sent it off to Ken Cammons at ICM, our agent, and we forgot about it for 3 or 4 months. We were busy working on the Heavenly Creatures script. And we got a call from Ken sometime later. He'd sent the story idea to Bob Zemeckis. Now, Bob at that stage was working on ideas for possible Tales from the Crypt feature films. And Ken thought that this might be a possible idea for him. Bob read it. He liked the idea, but he didn't think it was suitable for Tales from the Crypt, but he wanted to develop it as a standalone project. And in January '93, Fran and I were in Los Angeles. We had lunch with Bob. It was the first time we met him.
We sat down and had lunch, and they pitched me this very intriguing and bizarre story, which I immediately fell in love with.
You know, we talked about our ideas, and we sort of knocked some other ideas together at lunch. And basically, Bob said at the end of that lunch that he'd really like us to develop the screenplay.
And this was something that I was looking to do, but not make myself. But I have a real, affinity toward this type of film. And Peter was at a place where he wanted to really do something that would, stretch the bounds of computer graphics and storytelling, which is what this does. So we were both in the right place at the right time.
We were about to get lost in Heavenly Creatures for quite a long time because shooting was due to commence very soon, and Bob said that's fine because he was doing Forrest Gump, I think, that same year. So nothing much happened with the Frighteners for the next 6, 7, 8 months. We were busy shooting Heavenly Creatures and just lost ourselves completely in that project for a while. By the time Heavenly Creatures came to the editing process, which takes several months, we turned our attention back to the Frighteners now and started to think about some more story ideas. And we developed the script and the story a lot further than obviously what's on these 2 pages here. The idea of the villains was very much reworked, and in fact we incorporated some themes from Heavenly Creatures into the villains of the Frighteners at that point. We liked the idea of the teenage killers, and we were obviously, right immersed in that world at the time. And so we took it to, like, its ludicrous extreme, as it were, with the Frighteners, having one of the teenage killers dead and another one is now like 45 years old. And the dead killer comes back and the relationship between the two continues. And this was all sort of stuff that we thought would be fun to carry on exploring at the time. We finally wrote the first draft of The Frighteners, and this was like a year after our meeting with Bob. It was early 1994, and I remember we actually sent our draft away on the day of the Los Angeles earthquake. It just sticks in my mind. I had a call from Bob shortly after. He'd read the script and he really liked it. He wanted us to proceed and go ahead and make the movie.
This is like nothing I produced, but in a strange way, it's everything that I love in filmmaking. It's about ghosts and murder and mayhem and action and special effects and comedy.
And it was on that initial phone call with him that I remember bringing up the idea of shooting the film in New Zealand. New Zealand's where I'm based, and I didn't particularly want to go to Los Angeles at that time and work there for a year. I wanted to stay at home, and Bob was very relaxed about the idea. His one concern was, does New Zealand look like the States, and can we make it look like America? And The Frighteners is set in a small town, and so we thought, well, there's got to be some places in New Zealand that look like, Northern California or something around that area. So we sent a location scout around the country and photographed, I guess, 30 or 40 small New Zealand towns. And we showed those to Bob and the studio, and they were very happy about the idea of us shooting it in New Zealand. Some work developed on the script over the next month or two, and we finally had, a script which the studio greenlit. Again, that initial script is very different to what the finished film's like. But if anyone's interested in knowing what that script actually was, the novelization of The Frighteners, I remember when I saw this novelization just after the film was released, I was in a bookshop and I had a thumb through it, and I realized with horror that it was actually based on one of our very early drafts of the script. It doesn't bear much resemblance to what we ultimately filmed, but it is interesting because it shows you, just what the Frighteners was like in its very early stages. Now, when you're writing a script, sometimes you have actors in mind for roles and sometimes you don't. It just depends. It's useful for Fran and I if we actually have a face to one of our characters, because there's 2 of us writing, we can imagine the same person, which kind of makes some sense. But as it was with the Frighteners, we didn't really think too much about casting. We wrote the character of Frank Bannister and of Lucy and the ghosts, and we wrote them very much, to function within the story that we were creating, and we didn't actually have a particularly strong idea of one actor or another, but once we had this film underway, it was the next problem we had to solve. So we sat down with Bob and we talked about ideas for actors, and Michael Fox's name came up. It was an idea that we liked very much because Michael has a very rare ability of balancing comedy and comic timing with drama. You know, he is very good at both, which is a rare thing, and Bob was obviously very useful at that time because he said, well, I've worked with Michael. I mean, you know, if you'd like, I can give Michael a call and send him a copy of the script.
So I said, yeah, okay, I'll take a look at it, but I'm not really in the mood to do much. And then the script came, and I mean, it was really good and really compelling. It was obviously unlike anything that I'd ever been offered before and ever read before, and it was clearly the work of a really degeneratively ill person, and or people, as it turned out. And I called Bob up and I said, I don't know what to make of this. This could either be one of the most creative, interesting, innovative movies I've ever seen, or it could be just the worst movie I've ever seen, depending on how it's done. And he said, well, you should go and see Heavenly Creatures. And at that time, it was about to play in Toronto at the Toronto Film Festival, so, which is, yeah, a short flight from where I live in Vermont. So I said, you know, okay, great, and I'll do that. And I went up and I met Peter prior to seeing the film, and we had a great conversation. I really liked Peter, and I felt bad. I remember being in the meeting and feeling bad because I wasn't predisposed to do the movie, and I thought, I've met this guy, now I'm going to go see his movie, and then I'm, you know, probably not going to do his film, and, you know, who wants to be in that position? And so then we left, and we went down to the theater to see the movie, and about 10 minutes into Heavenly Creatures, I just knew whatever you wanted to do.
He basically said, yeah, I'm on board. I'm yours. You know, which was great because, like, he was the first and only person that we ever, you know, spoke to about that role, and that, you know, that big problem was, like, solved very, very easily.
I'm not sure that Frank Bannister has anything to do with Michael Fox as a person, but I think Michael has always had that dark, quirky sense of humor that he and I share, and he understood the character completely.
It was one of my better acting experiences, and one of the more challenging ones I've ever had. And I felt completely supported by Peter and Fran to try all kinds of different things. I mean, right down to the way that I looked, or Lucy as a character, and the movie, and where my character was and what he was supposed to be going through. I could always find answers in Trini's eyes and expressions.
Casting the ghost was a lot of fun because with the three ghosts, with the Cyrus, Stuart and the judge, we wanted to cast actors that were going to basically help us with the script, because these were roles that had to be funny, kind of wisecracking guys coming out with good one-liners, and Fran and I had a go at all this in our draft of the script, but we're not great at doing that sort of writing. And so we thought, well, if we cast, like comics or stand-up comics or guys who, actors who have good comic ability, then we're going to get a lot of input into the script and can hopefully, make it funnier. And so we started to look around for these sorts of guys, and we found Jim Fyfe pretty quickly.
I auditioned a couple of times by myself. And that was kind of like you were supposed to stand there and just basically hallucinate, because they wanted to see actors who could, act against a blue screen. So you had to just stand there and go like.
And what we actually did was we kept calling him back into auditions time and time again.
I guess at that point, they knew that they wanted me, but they couldn't actually tell me that. So I just kind of had to keep coming back and auditioning with different guys to play Cyrus.
Victoria Burrows, our casting director, had mentioned Shai McBride's name early, but had said to us that Shai didn't want to come in and audition. He had read the script and he didn't particularly, like it, or he didn't think it was funny enough.
I thought that Cyrus's role was written a little stereotypical, and it was a little underwritten, you know, and I wasn't going all the way over to New Zealand to do 2 lines, so I decided that I didn't want to do it.
About 2 or 3 months later, I think we were getting really desperate, and you know, we said to Victoria, look, you know, have you got any more ideas? And she says, well, there is Shy. I could try Shy again. And we said, well, just, you know, reiterate to him the fact that we want him to contribute to the script, that if he doesn't think it's funny enough now, then that's okay, because it's our intention of, you know, getting as much input from him as we can and making it funnier.
And once I saw Heavenly Creatures, I said, maybe I might want to work with this guy. So, you know, but I still was a little worried, and the only way I agreed to go into the audition is if I could go in and do pretty much whatever I wanted to do.
He was very, very funny. He was improvising. He wasn't even sticking to our script.
Why are you always letting him scare you? You the ghost. Look, man, I'm not worried about going back to the cemetery, okay? First of all, 2 reasons. Death was the best thing that ever happened to me because I had bad credit. Second of all, there's 15% more legroom in my casket than is in the trunk of that car. So you can stay here whining and complaining and getting mad and stuff, but I'm getting what I want. I'm gonna be riding in the front, and besides, I'm getting ready to play some music. I need to relax. I'm gonna tell you, if you lock me up in that trunk again, I'm getting some more black ghosts, and we're gonna march. We call it Jesse. We're gonna have the African-American Apparition Coalition. We can't work under these conditions, and you're gonna be in a lot of trouble with a lot of black ghosts. And you know, it ain't nothing worse than a bunch of brothers that's pissed off that's already dead. So I would advise you to just reupholster your seats and get some plastic, do whatever you're gonna do. B! B, is that you? Benny, my man! Hey man, how you get busted again? You know what? You really need to change your haircut. You're getting a little long in the back, Andy. Why don't you let me trim it? You know something, Benjamin? I've been meaning to tell you. You're going down a very crooked road. You don't want to end up another statistic, another African-American male stuck behind bars, like Mike Tyson. You don't want to be sitting right there doing 1,000 push-ups a day and 555 sit-ups a day, and you know you have to change your name because Mike is a Muslim now. Now it's Mike X.
Peter Jackson once said that if I didn't get the job, he was just going to take everything that I said in the auditions and just put it in the script. You dirty bastard.
I never met Shy before, you know, on the plane down there. And we just hit it off immediately. He's great. He's really, really a funny guy. He's a terrific actor, and he's just got a great philosophy. And we had a blast working together.
Don't touch my leg, man. Don't touch my leg. Because people will see this, and the next thing you know, I'll be, you know, doing those kind of movies where people are like, well, is he really? I don't know what he is, but I love him.
That's such a big, strong black ghost. You know what I'm saying?
A lot of my work with them, they weren't on camera, and they didn't do their work until later. And yet there wasn't a day when those guys didn't really bust their humps, you know, to provide me with an idea of what the scene was going to be and what they were going to do. And I always remember being really moved by that and appreciative of it. Mary, help me.
The character of the judge was another difficult one to cast, and it's difficult in a different sense because with the judge we were using a lot of prosthetic makeup that was basically going to cover his face. Like whoever the actor was going to have nothing visible apart from his eyes because there was so much makeup on, and yet through the rubber. And you know, some actors kind of get buried in it, and you don't ever see them again.
This town is in deep trouble.
One of the problems with auditioning the judge was that we didn't have the makeup actually ready for them to wear because it has to be made, you know, for the actor, the specific actor. And so we were auditioning judges without any makeup on and having to imagine what they were like. John Aston did a really delightful audition where it was clear, you know, with his incredibly expressive eyes, that no matter what you put on his face, you were still going to get this wonderful character and personality coming through.
No more hauntings left in me. Why, hell, I could hardly rustle up a scare.
I think the judge represents a kind of character that we're all familiar with in Western films. And this, I think this is a kind of transplanting of this kind of character into an environment with which he's completely unfamiliar, ill at ease. I don't think he adjusts very well to modern life.
We got Rick Baker to design us the makeup of the judge. he was very happy to work with John Aston and and to actually come up with a look for this character. And that was all done at Rick's studio in Los Angeles, and John would go in for various fittings and developing this makeup, and Rick would send me videotapes and photographs and show me what it was like. And when John came out to New Zealand to do the film, Rick sent Brian Pinnacus to apply the makeup, which at that point in time was about a 5-hour makeup, I think, for John to have to go through. He had to have his head covered with the judge's sort of like wig, and the makeup was partly prosthetics and partly stipple, which is this where you apply the rubber latex to the actor's skin and stretch it and relax it so it gets wrinkles appearing in it, and so it was a very time-consuming makeup.
I've been on stage thousands of times. I've been in many films and television shows, and I've done hundreds of different makeups, but nothing really compares to this. This goes way beyond. And it wasn't until we did the first makeup tests that I began to see and feel exactly who this character was.
The idea of casting actors who could contribute to the script, really paid off for us, especially during rehearsals. We rehearsed for about 2 weeks before we started shooting.
We flew down to New Zealand a couple of weeks prior to the beginning of shooting, and we'd go over to Peter and Fran's house. They got this great house on the water, and they have this room at the back that's just all videos and big, comfortable, fluffy furniture, and they'll flake out and watch movies there. And all the actors gathered in there, and we just read through all the scenes and just improvised things and made suggestions and came up with lines. And in a lot of cases, we had to re-vernacularize their writing because they'd written it certain phrases and certain ideas in Kiwi speak that we, as American actors, knew that American audiences wouldn't relate to.
Peter and Fran were really great about soliciting our ideas, and Michael too, because in a film like this, when you're working with a big star, the big star, kind of gets to say what's going to go on, and to some extent too.
It was really like a lot of fun because we'd have the chance to be as wild and over the top as we cared to be, and he was really stressing that it was more important for us to go as far over the top as we possibly could and let him reel us back in than for us to just be timid and scared and trying to be safe. So we just pretty much did whatever we wanted, and we just said the first things that came to our mind within the context of the scene. And a lot of the stuff stuck, and Peter kept it, and they would videotape it, and then they would go and write the dialogue, and the next day we'd have new pages. Like every day we'd have a different color page, and we were like running out of colors.
The thing that I remember that was really odd was they didn't have a tape recorder, so what he did was he took his camcorder and he put it in the middle of the floor and used it just to record sound, which I thought was really funny for a guy who was pretty much of a self-confessed tech weenie and gadget freak, that he couldn't come up with a tape recorder.
So let's just have a go. Okay, so you're stuck in the wall. Maybe we start with that line at the top of the page, "Loose up, man, come on, particleize," or whatever it turns out to be. And just go through into the music thing, and we'll try and snatch you a couple of bits of dialogue if we can.
It would be it'd be great if we just got stuck and we just stopped and the argument just continued with me in the door making whatever point, and then he goes, and then I'm still stuck, and I forget that I'm stuck.
What I'll do actually then is after this line, whatever it's going to be. Come on, you could have swung covers around, flash a few lights, but give me something to work with because I'm on my way. So I said, give me something to work with. Come on, Stuart, in or out, man.
Oh, that ain't right, man. You don't take your frustrations out on Stuart. You know the boy can't help getting stuck.
And then, woo, they do this thing, and I say, fuck you, don't ever do that. And they're like, ooh, touch the button there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we can still probably play it the way we've got it, is we in the moment they go, touchy,
mm-hmm.
and then we just go to the dog howling. I mean, I think, it's got a good mood in the driveway the next morning.
Mm-hmm.
What's up with Rustler, the judge's in at the cemetery, and then because I still like the visual thing of the sitting in the car watching the funeral procession pass by, which I think is who's doing this, Frank. I mean, I think that we can't get anything better than that of actually seeing the thing.
Yeah, but that's the point of it. The point of the compaction or whatever you're looking for here is to find the strongest attitude, and that's the strongest attitude to be there, to have that stuff happening in the background.
There was another element of improvisation that really happened on the set while we were shooting as well, because often, especially in the case of Shia McBride, we'd get to certain lines when we'd have something in the script and we'd say to Shia, well, have you got any other ideas for this and just for this line? Anything, can you come up with something funnier? And he says, yeah, I think I can, but just like roll the camera and we'll see what happens.
That's it. You can kiss my ass, Frank. Ain't gonna be no more huntings until we get some gun control in the house. You know, one of the reasons I was glad I was dead was because I thought I wouldn't have to worry about getting killed no more. You know, you ain't even safe around this place when you're dead, you senile old bastard. Fuck you, Judge. You know, if I wanted to get shot at every day, I'd move my black ass to Los Angeles.
They covered me with a blue like cape, like a poncho. I delivered my lines, and it gave the appearance that I was just appearing from a drain pipe.
Yo, Frank, how's it hanging?
It's nice, Cyrus. You tell me.
Yeah, what's 10 inches long and white? Right, nothing.
Oh, hey, come on! I told you guys. Get the hell out of my money.
Hey, come on, Frank. Look, we want to call a meeting, man. We got a wrap.
Hey, Cyrus, I gotta take a leak, and I'm not getting out of the shower.
Goodbye.
A small town called Littleton, which is in the South Island of New Zealand, just outside of Christchurch, was chosen as a primary location for Fairwater, where our film's set. And we spent about 5 weeks in Littleton in a very, very wet winter of 1995, shooting any sequences that were like outside the town in the high street and in the cemetery. We had to make this small New Zealand town look like America, of course, and so we had to find American vehicles because we drive on the other side of the road. We were lucky that Christchurch, which was very close by, is the base for Operation Deep Freeze, the American Antarctic base, and so there's a lot of American personnel at the base who have brought their cars over. So we were able to borrow a lot of their vehicles for the street scenes. We had to do a lot of work on the street signs, just to generally make this place look like small-town America.
I think the hardest thing is the logistics of having a movie being shot halfway around the world in New Zealand, but in a strange way it gives the movie a wonderfully unique look and a very important surreal quality, which is the appropriate for the tone of the movie. But it's very hard to make a movie when it's all being done, in a 14.5-hour airplane flight away.
How old am I? I'm 106. Well, 100 in dog years. I'm 30. I'll be 34 next week. 2 weeks. Any other questions? Yeah?
You have to get it right.
Yes.
You have to do it over and over again so they can get the right one.
Yeah, I know. It's silly, isn't it? You do it over and over again because, see, there's camera guys and sound guys, and there's people who are in charge of making sure that every time we do it, it looks the same. You happy, man? And there are people that are in charge of the lights, and there are people that are in charge of the cars and the people. And so what has to happen on every take is every single one of those people has to get their job done right. And usually it's my fault, and I don't get my job done right, but that's what we do. We do it every time, and every time after it's done, we look and go, are you happy, are you happy, are you happy? And if everybody gets, gets what they want, then we can do the next thing.
Ready, and action!
The location at Littleton was also used for scenes with Frank Bannis's house up on the hill above the town. We built the house so that we could shoot it in the actors during the course of these ghost scenes. You have to have it controlled by a motion control unit, which is like something you mount the camera on this big robotic machine, basically, that moves the camera, pans it and tilts it and tracks it along and cranes it up and down. And those camera moves are recorded by a computer, so if you've tracked along and panned with Michael, Then 2 or 3 months later, you set up the same rig again in front of a blue screen and you pan and track with the ghosts, and the camera moves at exactly the same speed. It doesn't alter at all. And so you can then put the two pieces of film together and they stay locked together.
$15,000, guys. I need it quick.
When we did the Back to the Future ones, we had to do all of those elements on the same day. So whatever it was that we shot, whether it was in Back to the Future 3, for example, it was me as 3 different people in the same scene. So I'd do it in makeup and all that stuff, and I'd do one character, and then I'd go away and change, and I'd come back and I'd do it again with another character, go away and change, come back. And it made for long, excruciatingly uncomfortable days sometimes. But they couldn't take a chance that there'd be an earthquake or something that would bump or jar the camera. But by the time we did the Frighteners, the technology had improved to the point where you could do it months later, that it would remember exactly what to do. For me, it was real helpful because I could sense when it was moving, when the camera was moving independently, and I could hear it and sometimes see it peripherally and knew that was then a cue that the action had progressed, and so I knew from rehearsal what was now happening. If the camera's starting to go this way, I think, okay, now this is where the ghosts started to go across the room. And it's amazing. It's amazing technology.
We were very lucky with motion control because these big cumbersome bits of machinery, are so slow to use, and I know that in the States it's quite common that you can only get 1 or 2 shots a day done, and we were lucky. We could usually get 6 or 7 motion control shots in a day because we were using a rig that was invented by a New Zealand grip called Harry Harrison, and his rig was based on a regular dolly that he'd converted, and he'd added motion control motors to it, all these drive belts, and he'd sort of built this thing himself basically in like his workshop.
That fellow takes us totally for granted.
So motion control was essential because I obviously wanted to move the camera a lot. This time-consuming process meant that we had to have 7 months to shoot the film. It was as simple as that. Occasionally it was difficult to shoot the ghost actors against blue screen in the studio because sometimes our shots were shots of the ghosts walking up difficult terrain, like in the cemetery in Littleton especially, where we wanted to see their feet contacting with the ground. The way we overcame that was to shoot the ghosts against blue screen on the location. Of course, this added another complication to the mix because now the guys carrying the blue screen had to race around behind the actor, and sometimes it got kind of difficult. I remember there's a couple of moments where they collided with shop frontages in Littleton High Street. I think the most difficult aspect of the whole motion control blue screen side of things for the actors was the timing. Especially the ghost actors. They had it worse because when we were shooting Michael, we would be following him around the room, he'd be doing his actions, and we would be recording the camera movement with a computer. And then when it came time to shoot the ghosts, what they were acting to is a pre-recorded camera move.
You let go of her now, mister! Let go of
So you as an actor now, all of a sudden, the camera's not following your moves, but you're trying to make it look like it's following your moves because it's on a preset thing. So if you're early or you're late to your mark, it's, okay, we gotta try it again. So that's how you get into stuff like take 42.
I want to kill her now, Patty. Oh, that'll give us 41. That's 8 clear, Gacy. Another 9 and I won't be able to die.
It's difficult for the actors to shoot this type of scene because, of course, what they're used to doing on a set is to basically have each other to bounce off. And, actors feed off each other to get energy for their own performance. And so, when you have interplay between characters, it's like, it's obviously great if everybody's in the same room doing it together because they're helping each other. And then when in the case, the Frighteners, we had to take all the ghosts away, and Michael had to do this himself, and he had to keep his energy levels up, and he had to absolutely be performing as if they were right there. And then the ghosts had to do the same thing. They didn't have Michael in the blue screen. They had to act into little sticks and pieces of tape as well.
Come on, let's go, man.
Frank, did you hear what I said? We got
Frank, snap out of it, man.
Wait.
I mean, people often ask me, it must have been really difficult for the actors without having each other there, and I think to a certain extent it is, but on the other hand, actors are used to to pretending. I mean, that's what they're paid to do. They're professional pretenders.
You know, pretending that there's a ghost here, or pretending that things are happening around me that aren't. It's just an extension of acting. One of the difficult things, you know, I think the worst thing I could say about acting to ghosts or acting to things that aren't there is that a lot of times I get bad headaches because you'd be focusing on a piece of space. You're not looking at a still object or an animate object. You're looking at a place in space.
And it's not like you can just turn in the direction of that, let's say that wall over there, and look at that, because when the final print is done, it will look like you're looking through that person or past that person instead of at that person. So you have to focus on nothing, like right here, and you feel like you're going cross-eyed. I mean, many days I would go home with a migraine headache because, you know, I've been focusing on nothing all day.
To me, that was not that difficult because it's just going back to a very basic level of play. You know, like my little girl does. You know, when you say dragon, she sees a dragon. Doesn't have to be a dragon there. It could be a tree, it could be nothing. And you just go back to that level of pure pretend. I mean, it's when you have actual things and people that you have to react to that you run into problems.
Compared to what Trini had to do, it was fairly easy, because what Trini had to do was she had to interact with somebody who was interacting with...
He had a stick, but he was at least able to sit at the table and, you know, and do that scene. But we basically ran out of things that we could shoot with Michael, with him running around, and it was clear to us that he just had to get his foot better again before we could carry on with any of his scenes. So the basic thing that happened was the shoot was shut down for a week.
I got a couple days off. I got a couple weeks off.
As much as it may sound mercenary of me, I think that Michael hurting his foot in that way really, you know, helped us with the film, because it gave us a little bit of breathing space. We were able to do some more work on the script. I was able to cut together some of the footage we'd shot, and I think we ended up with a better movie, ironically, because that happened. I'm sure Michael probably wouldn't agree quite with me, but I have to be mercenary. I'm the director, and these things do sometimes are blessings in disguises.
Stand by, and action. Starts wobbling, wobble, wobble, and over it goes. Press. Okay, let's set up for a take, guys.
Just a couple of people standing.
Lee. And action.
And wobble.
And cut. And take two, tail slate, camera B.
Very good. Yeah, why not? May as well. Shocking. I think you could just do a little bit more for us, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, just a touch. Oh, it's almost like you're about to burst into tears, you know. I don't know, something that's not too over the top, but something slightly comic, you know.
Okay. There's a dicky bird stuck back on.
Well, he is. Where did that one come from? Just inside.
And bending over it, Stuart. Okay, cut. All right. Looked all right, didn't it? We'll just go check.
All right, just put the mic into the in position while the camera's still there. Just come right now.
Yeah. Just pan. Just from that first stage. Down to here. Yep. Yep.
You spin around at that, and it's like, you know, hey, whoa! And then it's just, whoa, bang, bang, you know? And by that stage, Michael's got a cross. So it's like, oh, bang! So he's kind of like, just starts shooting out of the fright of it. I think it's better if it's the guy with the gun. Now, what we want to do is, the first shot we do, we'll do it without any shooting and stuff. So okay. We'll do it with two cameras. So we have a camera over here which will be inside the cop, but if you can throw the statue past the camera. And then we've got a camera down here behind Sue. Just a camera down there, which will then just pick up a run across and a leap down.
Great.
Hold it. One little bit of note. No, the second camera. Such a reaction. You just suddenly spin around. No, you're not nervous. Okay. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Okay, here we go.
Just a little push in, Richard. Michael's reaction. Was it, Judge? Yep.
Quiet, please. And roll.
Hey, 13, take one camera. Heat sledge.
And action.
And the judge jumps. Crash!
Stay right there.
Heads up! Good. Bang! Crash! I think we're compromising unnecessarily. I would,
Okay. So...
I mean, that's actually quite a nice shot, though. That's a nice shot of him in the foreground with the cops behind him. Oh, that's enough. Obviously not.
Need more. Need more pads?
Stand on one leg,
Right.
and now bend it and fold it. Good. That's what you want to do, just faster.
Was that what I was doing?
No, you went like this and then fell back on that way. Boom. Yeah. Like that.
And action.
And crash!
We're tight here. Is that not working for you?
Oh no, that'll be
shoot
okay.
them together as a reverse so that we get the action as...
Action.
And crash!
Stay right there.
Hey, butt! Oh, good hands. Hey, stop! Still looks a little light to me, eh? Oh, he did, yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, that's all right.
Like you did last.
Yeah, I'll talk to Stuart about that. Okay, it's worth one more go, eh? Yeah. To get it right? Yep, okay.
Thank you. Just get makeup to touch them up.
What's going to happen now on action? On action is that you'll hit the ground.
Okay.
You fire off the first shot immediately.
Okay.
You don't start firing till he does that first shot. So you're standing there, and it's almost like have your gun down, and when you hear the first bang, bang, just go straight into bang, fire straight away. So,
Rehearsals on the guns. So you should leave. You should start around here with these guys and sort of bail. Everyone's running off. Just in the gun. Okay, gun firing!
Pretty manic stuff, but good.
Because it's very unusual, you know, to hear like guns blazing in Wellington, New Zealand.
But we're Americans, so we feel right at home.
Oh yeah, we felt totally comfortable. We was like, more guns, louder. louder. People are not going to believe this, you know.
In fact, we brought with us, you know, tapes, relaxation tapes from the States of just, you know,
gunfire.
just going on.
Gunfire, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
Chicago, Philadelphia,
Yeah.
just gunfire, you know, to help you go to sleep. You know, when you're here for a while, you know, that's the only reason I'm homesick is because, you know, after 2, 3 months of peace and quiet and no pollution and beautiful weather and beautiful scenery, you need some crime and mayhem and all the other things that make our country great. This is a floor,
It's shunted, isn't it?
Yeah, loom shunted. I mean, the only thing you could do if you were really brave is to get the first one and then just tilt up to get the second one.
I've got to do that because it doesn't matter. If I miss the second one, then I miss the second one.
And
But at least
you
I
got the first one.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So you're going to tilt.
Roll cameras. Guns rolling.
814, take 2, camera A, head slat.
And action.
Cool. Yeah, I think you missed one.
That's good, and you just pause there at the right time too, just to see it sort of happening behind. It's good. Yeah, great. Okay. Excellent. Yeah, we'll print those ones as well. You will, even when the front one's going, you've still got a second probably before this one actually starts.
See, the problem here.
Yeah. Is there any way you could run your leads over here?
The problem is that I have to, when I first go down, obviously someone smashed my face. I have to use my hands. Then I can cover it up.
Action.
Bang. Bang. Bang, bang, bang.
Here we go. Ready? And action.
Shit. Bang, 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 bang.
Up.
Okay. Good. Good.
I might give it more of that and that.
On the day, mate, depending on what happens and how it all is, if you don't feel like just
Okay, sit up for take. We're shooting.
feet on feet.
Nah.
And action.
Holy shit!
Up.
Oh.
Cut. Hey.
It's been a few bumps and a few bruises, but, you know, like Bob Zemeckis and I used to say, pain is temporary, film is forever. You get through it.
Because this is going to fall in a second.
Okay, let's lose it.
Look at that little
Yeah, that's great.
Excellent. Yeah. I'm impressed with that. Have you seen yours?
That's great. Excellent stuff.
Bang! Bang! Pose! 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 Fire! Fire! Fire!
Do you need more on that side?
You got a cable version for this?
Yeah.
Trini, this is camera's in here, and you and Mike are charging in here. You're in front. You're filming the first shot. You're sitting around here.
You're going all the way back.
On this rehearsal, John, spin around, shoot at Jim, and at the point you are where you're shooting at Jim, the best thing you can do is to take a reference of what's behind him. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's better than anything. Yeah. Great. So if you just start here. Now, I mean, we're going to shoot everyone separately, but what we'll do in the rehearsal is start you all off the same, and just rehearse with everybody doing their thing.
Will this be a mark back here for you?
What? Are you unionizing something? Is that what this is about?
Oh, come on, Frank. Now, you know it's not about that.
What is it about?
It's about other things.
What other
Legitimate
things?
complaints. Cigars.
Cigar?
You've been promising to buy me a box of cigars since I don't know how long.
I hate to break it.
I have a pollen intolerance.
That's gonna smoke.
I mean, it's more than anyone doing the smoking in my face. Now, see, that's just the kind of talk that.
Darn it, Frank! You give us what we want, or I'm gonna bust your ass! Oh, you talking about those little wine soak things with the plastic?
Yeah, see, you've been watching too many Shaft movies. I'm talking about some Cubans.
Yeah,
that's right.
bullshit.
That's right. Some
Hey,
Ricky
get out,
Ricardo
get out,
and some people.
You here, Johnny? Turn over. Ready? Set. Action.
Okay, roll. Title flight. 3, 2, and action. We gotta go.
Camera's in here, and you and Mike are charging from here, you're in front. And you're sitting around here. We should ascertain if you're going to go high or low first, just so the guys know.
Well, what I thought was, because it's there, I thought I'd knock out that stuff. That'd be my natural thing. I would look at that and see if I could widen it, and then I'd go, oh yeah, it's widening, great.
And then would you go high or low?
I'd probably go up in here.
Okay, so we should go like it's there, and then I guess you're going to go down.
Yeah.
It would be quite. I mean, it'd be quite good if it was got to a certain point that you just kind of like drop that, and maybe both of you just went in the last couple of times, the last 2 or 3 with your hands and go on.
Yeah, well, that'll be one of those things that'll be like, because you would only do this for as long as it took until you look like somebody can get through. And you're like, can you get through now?
And then you might be just using your shoulders or elbows just to go through with the last.
I use elbows.
Now, what we should do is just to walk around in the other room and just see what's there, so that at least you guys know when you get around the other side.
There's nothing there.
This is the.
You nosy little bastards! I said go home.
Scotty's going to be down. Just show us where you're going to be, Scotty.
Here's the camera.
There's the camera, and here's the operator.
Where are you?
And there he is. And he's.
I'm going to do a bit of various until you come through.
Low too. Bend. Yeah. A bit of various. Now, there's a fire extinguisher coming through. These things are going to fly, Scotty, so just be
Are they real?
No, they're pretty heavy. They are actually quite solid. And they're fake, but they're solid.
Yeah.
And I don't waive the possibility that might fly out of my hand and fire. I mean, I don't think it will, but I mean, just be aware that that's
the thing that you're ramming.
Here's the fire extinguisher, which is about this long now. So we'll rehearse that the opening Steadicam bit just up until the point of impact.
What I'll do is I'll smash it a couple times, and then you like I'll smash it twice. I'll smash it 3 times, and then I'll stop for a second, and then you like go and start clearing it, and then I'll kind of get that that's what we'll do, and then I'll smash it once or twice. I'll say okay, and then you clear out a little bit and hit a couple, until we get a big enough hole, and then I'll say, do you think you can get through? And you'll say yes.
So no, I have my too much food for lunch.
No.
Just do it. You know, I'm having a fat day.
And action. Flight camera B. Cut. 1410, take 1, camera B, tail flight.
So if we have one in the mag, but not in the barrel, and indeed Dee can just do that, because you're just seeing them like, just running down the,
Now I know they don't have anything that they can hurt me with, right?
No, This
So I wouldn't be carefully coming around the corner.
No, this is just as a racing, this is running. And it's, I mean, what's kind of, it's just trying to capture a real scary feeling of being pursued in a dark building, narrow corridors, kind of scream and just snarl and just be kind of totally, you know, just be really scary.
I see them?
Out of control. You see them. You see them straight through there. You, boom, straight away, bang.
Ready, and action.
Good.
We're just waiting for the camera to come back and we're right to go. Good to rock and roll.
Do you need more on that side?
Ready? 14, 12, take one, cameras A and B.
Set. Set.
And action! It's a cut!
Ian, who are you?
Okay.
The stainless steel's already there. Thank you, Dean. Well, I think that'll do for the day. Go home.
Very good.
I'm just going to go sleep in this.
Well, lucky you go home and sleep. Thank you very much.
The A unit must
So go and get over your flight.
Set.
And action! Cut! Cool.
You do react in a way that doesn't look entirely planned, which is actually really good. We'll have to just do the bit at the end when Denise comes running in again. You come up here and feel the torchlight will swing onto you. And just if you, we'll have to get a position up here, an accurate position of you just to tuck yourself down because there's a camera around the corner here that'll get you in the top on the back wall.
Oh, okay. Action! Tail slide, camera B.
Okay, good.
Sorry.
1406, take one, camera B, tail slide.
No, I got you. No, you were there. You did a move and then you came back or something.
I ducked out and I came back.
Yeah, you came back, I think, yeah, but you did come back.
I can also do this. I can also go to here.
Oh, yeah, and yeah.
And come
Actually,
back.
that's the one. That's the one, and we use that. Yeah, that's stronger.
Where you come around
That's
here.
That's stronger.
And I come back,
That's,
and then I'm like this.
yeah, that's yeah.
Right.
We can feels like we can use all of that.
Yeah.
That's the
It's good. It's good.
Action!
Oh, I missed it. Let me see.
Oh, this is great.
Okay, one more, please. One more. You can pick it up and say Frank. You can kind of grab it, Frank.
Oh, incredible.
Yeah. And then, okay, fine. So, sounds good.
Great.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, so,
Statue of Liberty on too.
Yeah.
yeah. No, so that's really good, and we've just got Mike on the stairs. So what we'll have to do in terms of our reference is to get the height of a couple of stairs. And so when we're on the blue screen stage, that's the level that Mike... Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, Mike just jumps on the floor and we just lower our camera by that amount when we're on the stage. It's one of those shots, Mike, is going to... It's always going to be like, you just take over the frame. It's like, if you just time it with Casey about to say a chapel and it's like, you know, I mean, that movement, rather than just being still and just doing it with your face, it'd be nice to get that sort of, you know, that sort of body movement on it too.
Yeah, I can do that.
Without don't go too crazy. That's good.
I shan't.
Still on the floor, please.
And sit.
Excuse me, doctor. We're looking for Ward 12.
Oh, right. Go up the stairs to the 4th floor, down the corridor to your right, just opposite the channel. I'll get somebody to help you.
Orderly! Orderly! Are you deaf? I said, are you deaf, orderly? Hey, moron!
And Gun swings up. Casey backing away and cut. Not bad. We'll go again.
Busy hallway.
Yeah.
You like to let him roam?
It's good. It's good.
I think that I might have cut a piece of his coat. The arm thing was great.
You did. I don't know whether I noticed it below down. I don't know how much of it's still in it. Is it step on purpose or is that?
Oh, no.
Did that slip?
No, that's just slipping at the same place. I'm consistent.
No, we'll try not to do it if you can.
Yeah, I'll try not to do that.
If you can avoid it, try.
Mind his anger.
Okay. And fire! Okay. Good. Good. I think we should be careful, Casey, if you double up too much like that, we're actually
I can see it.
Yeah, so more like that. Oh, this sharp push, yeah. Now, what's that going to happen with Casey's tie here, Steve? Oh, it's going to get chopped off there. It'll blow out. It'll blow out. Okay, well, that was, shall we rehearse again? We'll just shoot, hey?
I found it.
Here we go.
It's in his pocket. Stand on control.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And, okay, stand by and roll. Action.
And fire! Cut!
Yes.
It's not real, is it? It's not real.
I think she needs a trouser.
This is open, isn't it, Trini?
No, I open on the way out.
I'll just leave it there. You.
A trail of syringes, band-aids.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Rehearsal, please.
Get it off there, right?
Ready to go, guys.
Keep the leaves fairly subtle.
This is private property.
Mrs. Bradley, how Dr. Lindsay work at the medical center?
No, you don't. I know everyone who works there.
Cut. Good. We'll just try one more, but it was great, Trini. Maybe you should offer your hand quite soon. Maybe it should be like, you know, I'm Dr. Lindsay from the medical centre, you know, because you're sort of quite a long way away from here, aren't you?
Right, yeah.
It's just the fact that you're, I mean, maybe you just, you know, you say your name and step up and, you know, okay. Just put a little, possibly a little early. We're going to lose the sun completely for the day, aren't we, very soon? I think the most difficult character in the film to conceptualize and like imagine was the Grim Reaper figure. The Grim Reaper is, you know, our most classical image of the death figure of the soul collector coming to harvest the souls and take them away. And so, you know, it was important that we used this image, but I didn't want it to be, you know, totally boring, and I wanted something to be original and funky about it. So I didn't know quite what it was, and we threw around various ideas, and Christian drew some drawings of, you know, what he imagined the Reaper to be like.
One of the first ones I did was this one here, which is a very sort of animalesque creature with high shoulders and long arms, but it was still going with the fact that there's a creature under there, which is why I've still got the hand coming out from under a cuff.
I wanted him to be the Reaper. I wanted him to have the scythe. I wanted him to be the figure of death, because the whole thing at this stage in the movie is that death has come to this town and that it has to be a recognisable figure. If it was a totally fantastical monster, something we'd never seen before, then, you know, we wouldn't be thinking death all the time. We'd be thinking, oh, monster.
I did this illustration here, which, because I'd put the hands back into shadow, it is not very well defined, but Pete saw this and took that to be that the hands are actually part of the cloth. It was just a gnarled piece of cloth draping off the end that formed a hand, and he really liked that idea.
So I think that was, you know, the first sort of breakthrough that we had with the Reaper, was the concept that there's nothing actually underneath the cloak. There's no creature actually in there. What it is that the cloth itself is the living creature, and what, you know, the hands are caused by the corners of the cloth sort of ripped into strips, and they're the fingers.
Separately, and also to get all the detail that you can't get into a computer model, whereas the computer model was so detailed that that wasn't the case. Ultimately, it was the logical decision to make to replace the physical altogether.
My favourite scene with Rustler never made it into the movie, and didn't even make it into the special edition, which is incredibly tragic. It involved a scene that got cut out of the movie very early, and we never even begun the effect shots for it, so there's nothing to show. It was where Frank goes to his mailbox and the mailman is walking away. I wanted this one shot to have the ghost, you know, dog, Rustler, snapping at the mailman crazily like dogs do. And the closest we ever got to completing the scene was a reference shot that we did of me running around with this rubber dog. So I don't think we should really cut that shot into the movie. I don't think it would work that well. There was another Rustler shot that was quite funny, which followed the fly spray in the kitchen. It was a shot where we had the judge chasing him around the house, trying to get his jawbone back, and for a few seconds, Rustler defies gravity.
Oh, what's up? Are you guys unionizing? Is that what this is about?
You know, once again, a lot of this work that had been done building these puppets sort of hit the cutting room floor, so, you know, I hope those guys forgive me. In our script, we had a character called the Gatekeeper, who was the like the guardian of the cemetery. He was supposed to be like a big bully, thuggish sidekick to Hiles, the drill sergeant. Initial ideas were some sort of an ogre or a demonic-looking creature who was sort of, you know, guarding the gate, guarding the way into the cemetery.
We played around with various sketches and more maquettes, doing a huge number of little sculptures, trying to figure out what sort of look he'd have. Now, fortunately or unfortunately, I'm not sure still, I proceeded to do one as a hugely overweight, baby-like cherub.
I really liked the idea of the Gatekeeper being a cherub. I thought that was fun.
The idea of doing a totally naked, flying baby with flapping wings, fully talking face, wobbling flesh was daunting to say the least.
Richard Taylor's guys, you know, built a very elaborate suit for a performer to wear, and it had a radio-controlled face and motorized wings that would flap up and down like a little cupid. I think there's something funny about a character whose wings are flapping desperately hard, but it's never ever going to actually lift them off the ground.
All I knew was this big rubber baby with this little voice that would say, you know, I can't see Charlie, 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 I need to come down now. And it was bizarre, and I don't know if I ever met that person. But I had this relationship with her, you know. I felt like I had to take care of her because she a lot of times couldn't speak and couldn't get her ideas across, but she was this big rubber baby person, and her name was Alice. And I never met her.
Jeff Combs was someone who I had known from the Reanimator movies. I'd never met him, but I was a big Reanimator fan, still am. And, you know, these films are about 10 years old, and I hadn't seen him doing any movies in recent times, and I wondered, you know, where's the Reanimator guy now? He'd be someone who was interesting, and I mentioned his name to Victoria Burrows, and she tracked him down and asked him to come in to audition for us. And I remember the first time that Jeff walked into the audition room, he ran up to me and he shook my hand, and he says, his first words were, do you know you and I are both in the Fangoria Hall of Fame?
This is very rare. He met me before I auditioned. He wanted to just meet me and say, this is sort of what I'm looking for. Now, go away and come back in 10 minutes and we'll do it.
He proceeded to do a really, great audition. We put him through the hoops. I remember he wanted to audition with his glasses on. He had an idea that this character wore glasses. And I couldn't imagine Dammers in glasses, so I asked him to take his glasses off after the first take.
Now, you have to imagine, I'm blind. I can't see. I've got pages. Fortunately, I had it memorized, but I always have that crutch, and so I had to basically take my glasses off and act with Michael J. Fox as a blur before me. It was pretty weird. I have a blurry memory of what the audition was like.
We created this character who was like this FBI agent who the government have sent in to break and to bust cults and sects, and he's been doing this for like 15 years, and he's the guy that always just gets sent in to go undercover for 6 months before they crack the case, and the problem with Dammers is that they haven't deprogrammed him in between missions. They have given him no therapy whatsoever in the last 15 years, and the poor guy has just like sacrificed his sort of like his personality for his country.
If you take nationalism that far, it really turns into fervent fascism. So that's sort of like where the haircut came in.
Jeff turns up in New Zealand and comes up to me, and he's got a library book. He'd been to the library.
A Wellington Public Library, and I got out some books on Hitler, pictorial books, and I found photos of young Hitler.
And he says, I think Dammers should have this sort of haircut, and it was the sort of Hitler haircut where he's like shaved himself around just above his ears. And he says, I think this would be a really great look for Dammers. I thought, yeah, that's great, that's going to be great. So Jeff went off and got this sort of this haircut, and then he comes back, and without me knowing, he goes and he visits Richard Taylor.
He wanted us to make him little tiny appliances that would fit behind his ears and force them forward. The idea was that it would make him look slightly geeky or a bit awkward.
The last touch was the idea that we had of putting black contact lenses on him.
He had this image and this vision of this man having these dark, black, beady billiard balls of eyes that like were alive and yet dead.
So I'm on the set working on the film, and I get this sort of tap on my shoulder. I turn around, and it's Jeff standing there. He's got the Hitler haircut, and he's got these things glued behind his ears that are making his ears stick out. And he says, "What do you think? What do you think?"
I get all the fruity cases, Mrs. Linsky.
For God's sake, come in and sit down.
Another area that Jeff Combs had input into in terms of the Dammers character was this chest tattooing or scarring thing that was made for him, and I know that he worked very hard with Richard Taylor to create the perfect combination of sort of cultish type tattoos and carvings on his chest. He was very particular in the sort of symbols that he wanted to be on there.
What was really great about it was Richard Taylor and all those guys involved me in the design of this thing. They came to me with sketches and they said, "This is what we have," and which was really phenomenal. And they said, "But what do you think?" I mean, almost to the point they said, "You draw one. Go home and take some of this, and here's everything that we have, and you come back." Well, I went home and I drew one, and it was so wonderfully collaborative. Just like every aspect for me on this movie was a wonderful.
The mystery heart condition that has killed over 30 people in less than 4 years has claimed another victim. Doctors are baffled as to why seemingly fit and healthy people are suffering massive heart attacks. Many of Fairwater's residents are claiming that the shadow of death has once again descended on the town. What's the shadow of death stuff? I don't like it.
It's what they're saying, Miss Reese-Jones. There's a lot of scared people out there.
By now, most people have probably seen, this extended version of the film, which we included in this special edition Laserdisc. And, those were all scenes that we took out originally, like the Frank with the letter from the bank. and the false reaper gag that the ghosts pull on him, and the driving with the judge and speeding up through the funeral procession. They were lifts that we did simply for pace. You know, they were scenes that we didn't think were necessary, and I certainly think theatrically the film is better without those scenes in. But it was fun to sort of include them in this Laserdisc because in themselves they're quite fun, and I think the medium of a Laserdisc, of watching a film on TV, and especially a film that you've presumably already seen and you can now see a slightly different version of it, is part of the fun. And, you know, while the theatrical version is still like the director's cut of the film, I'm really happy that some of this stuff, you know, we were able to include here because, yeah, it was kind of fun.
Heavenly Creatures was my favorite film the year it came out, and in fact it became one of those benchmark things that if you're talking with people and you want to judge their tastes, you know, say, oh, by the way, did you see Heavenly Creatures? And if they said, oh yeah, I saw it, I thought it was terrible, I'd know that they had no taste and there was no point in talking any further with them. Because if we thought it all alike, they'd go, oh, yes, fantastic film. I just loved that film. It was great. And I kind of told my agent, I think, that whoever this guy is, I don't know who he is, but whoever he is, I'd love to work with him on anything, any day. And it was one of those situations where I got a call asking if I was interested in working with Peter Jackson on his next film. They told me a little bit about it, and I said, I don't even care what it is. You know, it's like, yes, the answer is yes.
I was really delighted that Danny Elfman wanted to do the music for the film because I think more than just about any composer you could name, he has a real affinity for the tone of our movie. I mean, if there's one guy that understands this delicate balance between comedy and horror, it's got to be Danny.
When I first saw the first cut of Frighteners, which was at the Peter and Fran's house in New Zealand, and it was pretty wild because I flew out there from Los Angeles for 17 hours on the ground and flew back basically to see the movie. So I got there and I was really kind of a little floaty, but it was really fun. I went to their house and I met them and I just adored them both. And they showed me the movie on video. And I realized right there when I saw it that I had my work cut out for me, that it was going to be a difficult, time-intensive film. But I was also very excited because I like challenges and I knew that it just was not going to be an easy, you know, oh, I just could whip through this kind of score, that it meant really kind of nailing it and changing the directions a lot and shifting from one tone to another and trying to make it clearer for the audience what type of a movie it is that they're getting into right at the top.
I wanted to make sure that the music tied the film together tonally, that the music acknowledged the film for what it was and that it helped the audience go along for the ride.
What film music does is consciously or unconsciously lead the audience down the path you want them to be led. And in every movie, and within every movie, that's completely different. Sometimes the problem is you really want them to know that it's okay to laugh at something. Or sometimes you specifically don't want them to. Or sometimes you want to mislead them. In other words, the music you could be watching a woman washing the dishes in her kitchen and whistling or kind of humming along to herself, and nothing particular is happening, but the music can tell you that A, something horrible is about to happen to her, or give us the impression that nothing horrible is about to happen, that this is a very, very normal moment to take us off guard for something horrible that does happen all of a sudden. So we have quite a bit of ability. Or it can tell us that there's something really crazy going on in her head, that she's thinking of something tied to another piece of music that we've heard earlier in the story, that even though we just see her washing the dishes, she's thinking of somebody or something. So it has this strange ability to lead us down many paths while watching the same bit of footage. It can make a violent scene more violent, it can make a funny scene funnier, or what's very important in a movie with a very difficult or odd tone, it could let one know, you know, in the Frighteners, this was the case in the beginning of the movie. People aren't quite sure what type of movie they're getting into. In the movie To Die For, it was certainly the case in many of Tim Burton's movies, where you're trying to simply let the audience know what type of movie are they getting into.
Do these setups, and like he did a real tight setup of Jeffrey's mouth, and it was so ridiculously funny that Jeff, you know, that Peter kept laughing and wrecking the takes.
Well, I started to giggle, and I've never told anybody why I started to giggle. The reason was I was watching the close-up of the mouth on the monitor, and I suddenly became aware of a little dribble of saliva that was forming on Jeff's lower lip. And I suddenly wasn't listening to the dialogue anymore. I was just watching the progress of this little drip of saliva as it made its way down from his lip to his chin, and I was sort of started to wonder whether Jeff had noticed it was there or if he could feel it and was just going, and I was starting to suppress a giggle. I could feel it coming, and then I think it got worse because he suddenly wiped it away with his finger, and from that point on I was just fighting, trying not to laugh, but I couldn't make it to the end of the take. I'm sorry.
Why are you shaking?
Michael Fox turned to me at one point and said, "You know, I've never been on a set where the director's giggling has made the actors crack up before."
And so then he got it under control, and then Michael went off, and so I lost it on that. So he had to take a walk, and I could even hear him like way over on the other side of the soundstage, sort of muffling a laugh. But what about the guy in the toilet?
It wasn't me that time.
I know.
Keep on. Here we go. And action.
We know you didn't like her.
So we finally got the mouth shot, but things didn't get any better because we moved on to the eyes, and I was in this totally vaporous kind of mood, and I suddenly started to notice as we were filming that Jeff's eyes were moving up and down in sync with his voice, so they were acting like little mouths.
28 cases involved crushed hearts, arteries choked until they burst. Those started in 1990 with your beautiful wife, Deborah.
So I'm watching these little eyes going like mouths, and I'm trying to suppress a giggle. I mean, Jeff is trying to not to laugh as well. I can see that, and that's making me laugh even harder. And so, again, that one ended in disaster.
Why are you shaking? You're doing it now.
Look a little pale. There's a gas station. You gotta take a leak, I do. Judge, just rest your bones.
Just that relative.
Hello, Billy. 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 Who's gorgeous? Who's a beautiful boy? Yes. Who's a lovely boy? Billy. Hi. Smile.
Wasn't out of steam here?
Up and down, Billy. Billy.
Can we
In most of the films that I've made, we've generally had one day during the shoot, which is kind of like the silly day. On Heavenly Creatures, it was when all the crew dressed up in drag, like the men dressed up as women and the women dressed up as men, and it was kind of fun, and we've got some good footage of that for the Heavenly Creatures Laserdisc. The Frighteners, it happened on a day where we were shooting a serious scene where Johnny Bartlett's being taken to court and the massacre has happened in this hospital. It's a black and white flashback to the 60s, and we wanted quite a few extras to play policemen and journalists and cameramen, and we used the crew. So it's always funny for us to watch it because we're actually looking at a lot of the crew, you know, wearing the wardrobe and the costume and the makeup in there, and they're actually quite good actors.
Find a blanket. Give me a blanket, someone.
Can we just get back that way?
Come in. Any comments, Johnny?
I got me a score of 12. That's one more than Starkweather.
I guess that makes me public enemy number one. Wait. Back. Just back away. FBI guys, fighting hostage.
Get these people away. Get these people away.
Information. Can you tell us anything whatsoever? Anything that can
Get these people back.
Oh, for heaven's sakes, we're reporters, for God's sakes. We're supposed to get the news.
Into the car, guys. Follow the car. Follow the car. FBI guys, back in the car.
I think one of the biggest causes of frustration in the whole movie for Dee Wallace-Stone was the pump-action shotgun that she had to use.
Well, let's start with Dee doesn't like guns, okay? And every role I get, I have to use a bloody gun. I don't know what that's about. But I don't like guns, and this was a big gun. And they put some really loud rounds in it. And I had about 30 minutes to work with the darn thing before I used it, right? And you know, you get into these scenes, Laurent, you have to go to La La Land to go from who I am to who Patricia was in this scene. It's like, ugh. So I'm in, I'm doing this, and I turn around and it goes. I think there were a few four-letter words flying around at that moment. And we tried it 2 or 3 ways, and you had to really pull the whole thing out for it to work. You know, but I would get into the momentum of the scene, and I would want to do it so fast and so professionally, you know, that I would never throw it quite as far as I had to. So by the time we really got it, I was Patricia. I was so pissed off at this gun.
Sound off like you... Will you get a load of this? He set us up, Lucy. The man set us up. This is our house. I'm sorry. Shit.
Oh, shit.
You okay?
Yep.
No.
Lucy!
I don't know what's going on. Why'd the elevator stop?
Lucy had like one costume throughout the movie. So it felt, because that pink jacket, I wore it pretty much for the whole 7 months. And so after a while, the crew was like, "Oh, is that a new sweater? Oh, you look good today," you know.
And it became a bit of a joke amongst the crew that, you know, this is R-rated. And this is the first time in my life I'd ever known that blowing holes in a door was an R-rated activity. In fact, we should stop showing these shots because this Laserdisc will be NC-17 if we carry on. It's I know Bob went crazy, and it was just so obvious to us that there was no way that we were going to get a PG-13 version of The Frighteners. Certainly not a film that we were going to be proud of.
The rating system is very arbitrary in America. It seems to be applied with double, triple standards all the time. I was shocked that the movie, well, let me put it this way. I knew that they were making a PG-13 film, but I also knew enough from having worked on as many films as I have that they were going to have a problem because there's these elements. Now, they ended up getting an R rating, and I know Peter was very frustrated by that because, as he said, if I was going to make an R-rated film, I would have made an R-rated film.
It would definitely have been more interesting to make an R-rated version of The Frighteners from the beginning. Of course, at this point, we had no time to change anything. The only thing that we did do, after we learnt that we now had an R-rated release rather than a PG-13 release, is we redid the shot of Dammers getting killed. Originally, he was just going to be shot by a shotgun, and we weren't going to see anything other than just him being blasted back through the doors. And now we had an R-rated film, I thought, well, you know, damn it, let's just do something a little bit more interesting for Dammer's death. And we had a few weeks left before we had to deliver our last effects shot, so we engineered a shot which was never part of the original planning, where Dammer's head gets blown apart by the shotgun blast. And that is definitely a result of us suddenly getting an R rating and being able to do that.
My 11-year-old daughter went with me to the opening of The Frighteners, and she said, "Oh, it's R-rated. Is there some? If there's a section, you know, I really shouldn't see, you know, tell me." And I said, "Well, if there is, I don't know which one it is. I mean, there's a couple things which are kind of get a little violent and stuff, but I don't think it's anything that's going to disturb you." And she asked me at the end of the movie, "What was it in there they didn't want me to see?" Nothing disturbed me. She liked the movie a lot, and I said, "Molly, I can never begin to try to second guess what adults think that young adults get harmed by. Because the problem is most adults forgot what it's like to be a child or a young adult. They've developed some concept of what it's like over the years that has nothing to do with what young people are really like. So, in fact, in my mind, in my daughter's mind, there was nothing in there that was like over the top that was going to harm her, but that's not the way the rating boards looked at it. So it's kind of a shame because it did kind of cut out a chunk of audience that I think really would have liked the film. I would have really loved that film when I was 13 years old. I mean, that was like just a perfect 13-year-old Danny Elfman movie. And I'm glad that I grew up in an era where we didn't have ratings, because I wouldn't have been able to see half the stuff that I loved.
Hollywood didn't they didn't understand the film, because it starts out like this kind of wacky comedy, and then it goes and the storyline turns to this very dark and twisted kind of thriller. And what a lot of people don't understand is those are Peter's two favorite genres.
The issue of the tone of the film also upset a few people when they saw the movie. I mean, I read reviews where the reviewer would say, you know, this film doesn't know whether it's a comedy or a horror film, and it sort of changes halfway through. That seemed to annoy quite a few people, the way that they said that the film suddenly changed its tone. I never really thought of it quite like that. The Frighteners, to me, is similar to Heavenly Creatures in the structure of its tone. In both Heavenly Creatures and The Frighteners, we get to meet our characters with some humorous scenes. We have, you know, comedy, basically. We have, you know, stuff where they're having some fun and we learn who they are. We get all that information early, and then gradually the screws start to tighten in the story. I don't think it's sudden. I just think it's gradual. Over a period of time, the stakes go up. This becomes a situation of life and death. Frank Bannister has to stop the Reaper killing people. You know, people are dying. The town is getting panicky. He gets arrested. Dammers turns up, and the mood is slowly becoming one which is much less jokey. But I think that's an honest transition, because there's nothing in the movie at that point to laugh at. That the stakes within the film itself are actually going up.
He has a great ability to combine a thriller movie with comedic action, and that's what The Frighteners was, and that was one of the reasons that I loved it. And I didn't understand why people were confused looking at it, because that's a real narrow mind when you look at a film and you say, oh, well, it wasn't comedy from start to finish, or oh, well, it wasn't thriller from start to finish. It actually, you know, gave me more of an experience to watch it, so therefore I don't like it. That's strange to me. I don't understand that way of thinking. I love The Frighteners, and I love the fact that we were able to have fun and do silly, wacky, funny stuff, but at the same time have this backdrop of complete manic insanity.
I'm very proud of this movie, and I think it's brilliant. And I just think it was a a pyramid of misfortunes and bad timing, and which will all be resolved, I believe, when it comes out on video, because I think people will then discover this movie for what it is. You know, this movie is very wet and atmospheric, and it has just a kind of a feel about it that's autumnal.
One of the really great memories of the Frighteners for me is, you know, working with Bob Zemeckis and Steve Starkey, who were both incredibly supportive of what Fran and I were doing. They were very respectful, I guess you'd say, of us wanting to make our film. I guess Bob, being a director himself, was, you know, particularly conscious of his role in the film, I guess, as executive producer, and he was almost painfully, you know, aware of not wanting to step on my toes at times. But he was also an amazingly knowledgeable resource when we were cutting the movie, and Bob sat in with us to look at the cut, you know, and I paused for a moment. I thought, wow, you know, here's Bob Zemeckis actually giving me ideas for my movie, and it was really that sort of input was just so helpful. And those guys, you know, worked very, very hard and were very supportive of us right the way through to the end. And you know, I'll always be incredibly grateful and have wonderful memories of that collaboration. At the end of the day, the one critic that I want to please is myself. I want to always make a film that if I was going to watch it tomorrow, it was somebody else's movie, I was paying my money, I was going to sit down and see this film called The Frighteners. You know, I know that I would really enjoy it. I mean, that's the film I've made, something that I would really enjoy if I went to see it. And with that in mind, you know, the box office doesn't really mean that much to me. It's lovely to have people say that they enjoyed it, but at the end of the day, the biggest tragedy would be for me to make a film that I didn't feel personally proud of. That would be where I think, you know, I've really gone wrong. And the Frighteners, you know, I'd love The Frighteners if I saw it. I would really, really enjoy it if it was somebody else's film. And so for me, you know, it's a film I'm proud of, and that's the most important thing.